Hey, a beautiful lady on the series of extraordinary people is here today. Anvita Nath is our guest for this episode. A decade and a half of work into radio, content, and advertising. Anvita shares about all the fishes that she has been chasing through her life, and the degree to which she flirts with her fishes is quite evident in anecdotes after anecdotes that unfold as we go along. Anvita, a person who has been creating narrative stories that sell for masses and classes, has of course observed and interpreted human patterns to the need of the hour. I had assumed that this would be just a day job for her, while a passion would be something totally different. But whoa, was I surprised to know that the creation and analysis are for fishes? Oh, yes, I was. A rather unusual combination to see data with creatives as one unit. This is just one of the insights into Anvita that I would like to introduce her with. Wear your seatbelt for the rest and let it unfold for you. So, welcome to Flirting with the Fish. This is a podcast, and my name is SoniaChoksi. In this podcast, we talk about the weirdest fishes, or rather the missions and the passions and the ideas and the vision that a person has, and not just having it, but really chasing it, being happy chasing it, just how we are when we flirt. So that's about this beautiful topic that we have chosen to talk about and meet new people. And the context is that when we're listening to these new people, we hear something for ourselves. So there we go. Here with us, are the content creators extra deep people to know what will work for most other people who are very different from them? Or the consumers have very similar patterns?
We are all the very same. So I think when you ask me content-wise, yes, we all are very basic people. And that's why, if I take a leaf from the content itself, what we call primal content, right? There will always be men versus women. And also in today's day and age, I will say when I'm saying men and women, I will talk more from the point of view, not the cisgender, which is what we are assigned, but what you feel and what is your temperament,
Absolutely. So which means that even if suppose if there is anything to do with fine dining, and it is obviously curated in a manner that it appeals to people who indulge into fine dining, it is not that that particular narrative or that style will not appeal to somebody who can't afford to go for fine dining. It will appeal to us as
Of course. I'm sure like everybody has those, I love the last 2 years, my biggest thing is that we can't travel. And I'm sure that is for a lot of people in the world. And see, traveling is a privilege. Even this feeling now that, oh man, when will we get to travel is a huge privilege right now that you are thinking of this.
Yeah.
Because we know that people are thinking that, oh God, what if another lockdown happens? Will I be able to put food on the table?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I was trying to say is that one day I remember I love going to Europe and I love solo travels. Because I just feel that when you are on a solo travel, and it can work for some people, it may not work for some people. I'm a person who is a loner as well as I'm equally happy in the company of people, okay? But I think if somebody really likes to be with people, they won't like solo traveling. It can become too daunting and lonely for them. But I just love it because for me, it's like meditation because you're actually away from everything and everyone. So that's like a true vacation. It's the vacation for mind as well.
Yeah.
Because yes, when we travel with friends and families, that is also great. But you do end up connecting with the same people, right?
Yes.
And talking the same things that you were talking maybe back home. Here you are talking in different ways, but it's the same sort of thing. But when you're solo traveling, you're away from everything and everyone. You're on your own. So you are either observing or you are spending time with yourself in real sense.
Yeah.
Or you are talking to people you have never met in life. Okay. And that really opens up things. And one day I remember I was Yeah, I think I was in Paris and we did a walking tours. Europe has a lot of these walking tours they will do and they will show you history and everything. And then I love making these picnics and, European weather allows that. I'm in India, most places, unless you're in mountains or something, they don't allow you all that picnic weather where you just make a picnic and go outdoors, right?
Yeah.
So I was just there and I had made this picnic and I was sitting by the Seine. And then I realized, these people are dealing with much lesser problems in life as compared to us. They don't have to think that basic things like मैं ना कपड़े आयन करके रख लेती हूँ वरना कल सुबह ऑफिस जाते समय अगर लाइट नहीं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं होगी तो मैं क्या करूँगी, राइट? But they don't have to think about that. And they don't have to worry about whether I drive to office or whether something. They don't have to worry about कि cab time पे आएगी या नहीं. Something, या ऑटो वाला मुझे हाँ बोलेगा या नहीं जाने के लिए. Everything is so set for them that they don't have to worry about these things. And hence, no wonder they have time and, emotional orientation to think about art and poetry and history. Like when I was there, I could write so many things because I was in that space as compared to all that we deal here. So end of the day, yes, I think we all are same and we are literally different because of our privileges or absence of it.
And exactly, like I think you brought the conversation to exactly where my mind was going when you were talking about solo traveling, Anvita, and the small town that you come from. I come from the same small town, and so I have a sense of the culture that breathes in there. So Lucknow, the town. I was wondering that in Lucknow and in the era that we have been brought up there, which is let's say 20 years back when we were there wasn't really a culture that thought that solo traveling or living by yourself or pursue your dreams into entertainment was something that was not really considered safe, was not definitely not for the girls. What was your environment or what was your conversation that made you even aware of some things like these that you can take on for yourself?
So I always feel, and I think that is what they say, that it's not the situation, how you react to it, right? And you will see siblings or people living in the same, say, colony or something, right? So I'm saying the space or situation may be same, but two different people will have two very different outlooks or choices that they make, right?
Yeah.
So I come from a very simple middle class family, and yes, when I say conservative, I think people don't even realize that they are conservative or patriarchal or misogynist because, it's so ingrained in us that we take it as way of life, that is what we deal with. And now we talk about those things. And I'm so glad that there is ingrained patriarchy. So when you say औरतें ही औरतों की दुश्मन होती हैं, ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. But it's the ingrained patriarchy. They were taught that this is how you are supposed to live. So they try to teach the same thing.
Yeah.
And the fears that were instilled in them that if you don't live like this is what will happen. The same fears play out, and they try to, in a way, they're trying to warn the other woman saying, this is what will happen to you if you are not listening to me. And that is how patriarchy continues, right? Same for misogynistic thing that will have, the fears have been instilled in people's mind that, this is your religion, the other religion can do this, they can suppress you, they will do this. And hence, we come from that space. But having said that, that's the situation that you are in, and I think somewhere we can work on it, but somewhere it is also a gift for which I feel very, very grateful that, okay, maybe I was born with that outlook. So if I just say take the example of solo travel. I remember being a child when people literally used to, they will read your Janam Patri and say, this person will travel to a foreign land one day. Okay. Because at that time, one, air travel, second, traveling, everything was not so common.
Yeah.
Now we travel because, travel is a passion. Earlier, more or less, people used to travel because we are going from one place to Nani's house or things like that.
Yeah.
Or people used to, they used to take some summer vacations and all sometimes. It was not, when I was growing up, this was not so rampant. So, but also there were things like, somebody took a flight, that was a big thing.
And like coming from America.
Yeah. And as we grew up, we then saw an era when you had budget flights and people were like, why should I take a train? Why should I not take a flight? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I have grown in a very protective environment. Okay. My father was very protective. My mother was somebody who, in her young age, when she tells me this story, she was this, and I think I get this spirit from her. So I think I've got the best parts of both my parents. My father was this he used to write very well. He was very sensitive about things. And when I say sensitive in a good way, that, he had a sensitive lens towards life. And I think I got that from him. And my mother was this very spirited person who used to, at that time, imagine in her younger days, not even my younger days, she would drive Jeep and she was an NCC and she was a shooter and all that. So I think I take all that, I have got all that as a gift from her. So I always say that I got lucky. I got the best parts of both my parents,
Truly.
So
that's a deadly combination.
When I was growing up in that kind of environment, I had my siblings and my cousins and all who aspired to grow up and marry well and find a husband with whom they can do things, okay? Which is also fine. I feel everybody has their way of finding happiness. And I was always drawn towards things like, living on my own and traveling everywhere. I remember this very distinct feeling from my childhood, and we had as I said, I'm a bit of a loner. And I've grown up in a joint family. Okay. So while that was a great thing to grow up in a joint family because it is a very vibrant, loving environment always. But imagine a loner growing up in a joint family, a big joint family where there is always people around. Okay. So I had this harsingar tree in our garden. Garden was my favorite space in the house. And my favorite thing was to always go in the morning, pick up those harsingar flowers and give it to my dadi for puja. And I used to love sitting under it. And I remember I used to be there and I used to have this intense feeling as a child saying, oh my God, how will, what if I don't get to see the whole world, So I think I was a traveler. I was a born traveler. And yes, every time when I wanted to leave my house and live on my own, there was a pushback from parents that, no, how will you do it? It's not safe. And I wanted to go and live in Delhi, which is a very unsafe city for women, right?
Yeah.
So there was a pushback. Then when I was going abroad to live there someday for some time to work and all, so every time I'll tell my parents, okay, I'm going to Delhi, there was a pushback. And because they were coming from the space of care and fear, like how can we send our girl out in the world? It's so bad. Like everybody just wants to keep you at home, right?
Yeah.
So that was a pushback. But then once I came and I did everything, like you live on your own and everything is okay, they also get slightly. So that's what I'm saying. We bring up our parents as much as our parents bring us up. Okay.
Wow.
That's why I think they say child is the father of the man, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So then they grow up a bit. They are like, okay, my child can go out in the world and be on their own, grown up. Okay. Then when I say, okay, now I'm shifting to Bombay, then they're like, oh, it's so far off, in Delhi, you could at least come, you take a flight and you come. I was like, fine. So earlier I was taking a flight for 1 hour. Now I will take a flight that is 2 hours. It's still the same. But there was a pushback. But then you shift to Bombay and everything is okay. They are happier. Then they're like, okay, you are now in a city which is safer. So, okay, fine. Then when you say, oh, I'm going traveling, there is an office trip and all, be safe, this, that, everything. That is safe. So it similarly, when I said solo travel, oh my God, everyone was so worried. Everyone, including my friends and everyone, and they're like, please read this thing. They literally created a WhatsApp group that you continuously keep in touch and this and that. But once you do that, then it is like, oh, I can also do it. And I cannot tell you that my first 2 solo trips, when I used to post about it and all, so many people talked to me. When I came back, they connected with me and then they started solo traveling as well.
Wow.
So yeah, the cycle is same, whether it is somebody doing, whether it is women going to study for the first time or the first woman doctor, or say, then we have progressed and we are born into a world where education is equally important for girls as well. Like there is no question whether girls will be taught or not. But then you, in your small ways, you conquer these other things, which then become normal for other people and also become normal for people around you, who may be telling you not to do this. So, because as I said, that it's a sad thing, but somewhere there are so many kind of fears that are instilled and taken from generation to generation.
Yeah.
But it is very important to keep dispelling those fears in your own very small ways.
Yes.
And every story that you read is about dispelling some fear.
Absolutely. Very true. Coming to, let's say, leaving beautiful things that you're saying to the context of the title of a conversation, Flirting with Fish.
Yeah.
Where a fish could be any mission, any vision, a passion that keeps you awake, or just an idea.
Yeah.
For a vibrant person, for a person full of experimenting, bold, free bird, I really wonder now, Anvita, what are your fishes?
Okay. I don't know. So, while flirting with the fish that are there for me, I have somehow stumbled upon this thing that stories and, the greats amongst us tell us to do, that I can be driven by what makes me happy. Okay. So, see, my job, for example, I have been lucky enough to never do a job. I have always had a career doing what I love. Okay. So I was a science student. I was not a bad student. Okay. I could have easily been like, I could have, attempted becoming a doctor. And actually, my hand in dissection was so good that my teachers used to say that, at that time, we used to have this CPMT exam to study in medical colleges, right? They used to say, do take up CPMT because you're so good, you'll make a good surgeon. Okay. I was and somebody who is a non-vegetarian and I love animals and so much, that I feel is a very dark side of me. I used to do dissection and I used to be so marveled to see what is inside the body and all. I was like, what is this dark side of me? Oh my God. So I was very good. But even at that age, now that I look back, I was like, I can't be a doctor because I feel so scared if I see blood. And I don't want to do something where I'm around people who are not well. It's a very noble profession. But I realized it is not for me because I won't be able to deal with this kind of misery day in, day out. So I was like, no. And now I can look back and I can see this. At that time, I was like, oh my God, no, I can't become a doctor because if a patient walks in, I think I will be scared before the patient is scared. That kind of thing. but I think I was somewhere driven by what I like and what I don't like. Correct? Like what kind of life I want to create for myself and what I don't. And I used to love ads. Like I used to be amazed thinking, oh my God, in 30 seconds they have created such a beautiful story and this is so funny and all. And even in a city like Lucknow where there were hardly any ad agencies and everything, I was like, oh, I will go in advertising. So, and at that time, I'm talking early 90s, when we literally didn't even have, Google and everything to search.
Yeah.
We used to be like, we used to read in the newspaper, then send a postal this thing to find a form for a university. And we used to choose ki isme apply karna hai, isme nahi karna hai and all that. Because nothing was free. You were not applying for free to colleges, right?
Yeah.
And at that time when we didn't even have mass communication courses to say so. It was like a new thing.
Hardly. Yeah.
And I started pitching my stories to the newspaper editors and writing for newspapers. And then I got into advertising. So I think, yes, if you ask me, my fish is the so-called blue whale of my fish, if you ask me, is that I have been consciously or subconsciously always driven by what will bring me happiness. Okay. So in school, while I was a science student and doing all this and focused on studies and everything, and for me, whatever I'm doing, I have to do it well. So if I'm studying, I have to be a good student. Okay. A bit of a achiever mentality there. So, but I was good in, I would always win essay competition and debates and all. So, and I wanted to write. So I started writing and then I got into advertising. And then when I was in advertising, everybody wanted to create great TV commercials and all. But I loved radio as a medium. And that was the first wave of FM radio. And in advertising world, radio is like the poor cousin of advertising.
Yeah.
Because that in the radio industry we still deal with, that you get the smallest budget, smallest portion of the pie, So nobody thought of radio. It's like people would be doing everything in their capacity to ensure I write the TV commercial and I do this campaign. And they would literally be like, okay, radio, anybody can now do radio. And I loved radio. And one of my clients was heading a radio station now. And he was like, come to Delhi. What are you doing in Lucknow? And I was like, yeah, you are right. Agar career mein kuch karna hai, to abhi mujhe Delhi aa jana chahiye. And it was for Radio Mirchi. And I was like, yes. And I was very focused that I want to be in radio now because I love the medium, which was, technically speaking, was not a great move for me. Because, and also after that also, when I joined Red FM, we were changing the brand and it was very exciting. But I did get a job I get to create. This job, I'm only taking creations from others and I'm working with them. And I said no to that job. Okay. Basis these reasons. And I think I took the right decision because whatever I created was, one, it was so satisfying to do a job where you get to create what you love. And second, that did push me in my career. That did bring me awards and that did bring me job satisfaction and, establishing my talent that, yeah, I have talent. And establishing that in my head also. Because if I go back, I was a science student and what I was doing was not a career choice for science stream people, right?
Yeah.
So while I was continuously doing it, I was also continuously experimenting. And at every stage, I didn't know for sure whether I will be able to do it or not. Right? Say, if you are a qualified engineer or a doctor or you are an MBA, you are qualified and you know that this is what I know, this is what I can do. Here I'm a creative person who has studied science, who was supposed to be a doctor or then maybe, if not doctor, I will become an IAS or something. And here I'm trying to write and create a radio station and, run a radio station and everything. At every stage, my personal thing inside me was that I hope I deliver on it successfully. So for me, finally, now I am in a space where I know that, yes, if I have to work on something, I can deliver it. Because now with years of actually delivering, I know that I have it in me. But my initial years in my head, I won't say doubt. I'm a confident person that way. But I always had this thing of proving myself to myself as much as to others. Okay. Similarly, in 2015, I switched jobs. And this, I think, is a very important thing. And this is something I want to share with people because I know a lot of people deal with it. And at present, they are dealing with it also because of pandemic and job scene and everything. Um, when we are So I left my Radio City job to join another job. And again, I won't take name there, which didn't really work out for me. I was a consultant, but I parted ways very soon with them. Okay. And then luckily, because of references and all, I continuously kept getting consultant opportunities, which was great. And also, as I say, I am a privileged person in the sense that I don't have any so-called responsibilities, right? I am happy to take responsibility of my parents, but it is not as if I don't take responsibility, my parents are on their own. There is no such thing. They were very well settled on their own, okay? So I was the so-called footloose, fancy-free in real senses because I'm a single person who has no responsibility of someone else. See, when I don't have a responsibility of someone else, I can live in a mansion or I can just, live in a room, doesn't matter. It is what I'm ready to deal with. When you have other people's responsibilities, it breaks you internally that, it breaks you not because of what you are not able to do for yourself. It's because what you are not able to do for your loved ones.
True.
Okay. And also when you lose your job, somewhere it takes a hit on your personal this thing, like, because when we grow up, we are supposed to work and we are supposed to be successful, right? And then the world is so difficult that there are more successful people than you. Someone is earning more than you. You are not as successful. So you are dealing with that divide. And then when you lose your job, it makes you feel worthless inside for some reason or the no matter how much you know that everybody's losing jobs right now. I'm not the only one, but it does make you feel very, very bad inside. So, when I parted ways and I was doing consultant, and frankly, I was not jobless. I have so much gratitude because I have been so lucky that even in my so-called jobless state, I was earning well and I was doing good work, to say so. It was not, that consultant thing was not by choice. It happened by chance. But it worked well for me because I looked at what is working for me right now rather than what is not working for me right now. And then also, all of a sudden came a point when all the things that I was consulting for, they were like, we would like to take a little break and, reunite again. And sometimes it will happen that you are, say, working with 10 clients, 5 of them will not be there and 5 of them will be there, and then you will be working with 5 new people, right? But for me, all of a sudden that happened at the same time, okay? And I lost my dad at the very same time. All of it was happening simultaneously. And then I came back and there was a job that I was as good as that. They were like, when can you join? Can you join within this week? And then it didn't work out for some reason. Okay. And at that time, I have always wanted to volunteer. And that is how I say that when you subconsciously or consciously focus on things that you want, those things, that is what they say, that then universe manifests it for you. Okay. I believe in this whole secret. I just don't believe in things like that, oh, you put it up on your wall and then it will happen for you. I don't believe in that. I believe that it has to genuinely come from within your heart. You have to feel it. And to feel it, there is no process. Yes, I have to genuinely feel it. In fact, I sometimes tell my friends and all that, don't try to very mechanically create the secret. Let it happen spiritually and naturally.
Yeah.
So, okay. So anyway, I digress. Anyway,
Sure.
I actually focused on, I always wanted to volunteer. Uh, right now, I will be staying in Bombay, paying rent everyone, eating into my savings. But more than that, I realized that when I'm consulting or I'm in a full-time job, I won't have the courage to say no to that career opportunity and money and go volunteer. Right now, if I don't have a job, a full-time job or consultancy or anything, let me go volunteer. And I started looking for that. And while I was thinking of connecting with people for volunteer opportunity, I used to follow this woman, amazing woman. I think everyone should know about her, Sabaha ji, who has been born and brought up in Dubai. She lived in Bangalore and then she left everything and went back to her very remote Himalayan village and started a school for children there, village children. Okay. So I follow her on Twitter and it was like, and that is what I say is the magic, right? I was not manifesting a magic. I was only working towards things I want and then the magic manifested. So this is what I want to tell people. Don't try to manifest the magic. Try to work towards what you want and the magic will manifest. Okay? It was like in this moment, I hear from them and they are like, sadly, we are putting a hold on this role for now. We will come back to you as and when we reinitiate this thing. And then I'm like, okay, whatever it is. I think I will go out and sit in my favorite cafe and have a dessert. Okay. And then I'm sitting there and having my dessert and eating and reading a book. And I'm like, I should volunteer. And I'm like, let me connect with this person I know who has always told me he works with the United Nations. He lives in New York and he has told me that whenever you want, you can come here, you can live with me and I will hook you up to work with on some project at United Nations. I was like, let me message this person. And I go on social media for that. And the first thing I see is Sabah's tweet saying we are looking for volunteer teachers. Okay. And I was like, and I know that it's a very remote Himalayan village and all. And what Sabah does, she doesn't show you how beautiful her village is. Because then what happens, a lot of these people who just want to go there and click Instagram pictures and all, those kind of people reach out to her. Right? So for her process of seeing that only the right kind of people come there, she kind of discourages, that was my feeling, that she kind of discourages you when you connect with her. To see that how actually you are serious about it, okay? And if you go on her site and all, obviously you will see things, but you will never be able to see how damn beautiful that place is. Okay? You will just see that it's a village and, you know, that's where you have to work. And I realized this is one life I will not be able to do any other time. I may still aspire to go to New York someday and live, and I may still aspire to go somewhere. But I don't think I will personally think of कि चलो सब छोड़ के किसी गांव में जाके रहते हैं. Though I do think of that all the time, and I have thought, but you know, in practical senses.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, let me write to her and see. And I wrote to her. Initially, she didn't reply. Then she replied. She said, why don't you send? And I didn't want to. She had a full process. And maybe I've achieved so much otherwise in my career, but I've never been a teacher. So I wanted to apply through proper channel, like fill the form, write your essay, why you will be able to add value if you come there as a teacher, and send it to her. So we talked for almost 2 months. She was like, right now we are in a holiday, they have a they have a summer session that happens, where they are in holiday and eat, and after that we will connect and everything. And I had to take a very huge call of that I'm leaving everything, like my flat and everything in Bombay, and putting my stuff in storage and going to this village and everything. So we did that, and I went there, and I think it is the most fabulous chance I ever got in my life. At a time when I didn't have work and I had lost my father, I got a chance to go to the most beautiful place on earth. I mean, imagine I'm living in Bombay. I literally stand on, like when I am trekking, I stand at some mountain, this thing, and I'm looking at Chenab in the distance, where I can see a blinking light that is where a car is going. Okay, that kind. Like a place where the noise is actually bird song and horses neighing and those kind of things. Okay, that is your noise in that village. Okay. And imagine being amidst nature. It was like a mountain jungle you are living in. It literally, leopards and bears used to come out of where we were living. Okay. So you have to be inside when in the dark. Um, where you can actually see the Milky Way, that kind of stargazing, you know. All of that is so healing on a human level, right? That is what you see. I actually went to places which are money can't buy kind of places, because there are no hotels, there is no tourism there. The places that I'm going to are untouched. It is only known to people who live there. Otherwise, nobody knows. Um, it was it was healthy. It was healing, and I got to work with. I was teaching children. Imagine being in the company of children, teaching them, finding creative ways to teach them. It was so much of learning. It shifted my entire perspective towards life and how we live, you know. So literally the best part of my life came out from the worst part of my life. Literally. So I want to say losing a job is very, very difficult. But if you have the privilege of not worrying where your next meal is coming from, and you have one saving is important. Okay. And when I say saving, I want to touch upon something which is very personal to me. Today, yes, we are living in a world where we have all kind of loans available, but I'm a little old-fashioned in that. I'm a person who has kept myself loan-free. Okay. But I understand that there are people who have families, children, you want to build a house because all this is important for you. Yeah. But do only take loans which are very, very necessary. Yeah. Otherwise, and that should be your financial planning. Otherwise, stick to I will buy something or I will own something when I can afford it. Okay. Like when I bought my car, because I could have bought my car 2 years earlier, but I bought it 2 years later without a loan because I just wanted something without a loan. But practically, it was manageable without a car, right? If you are a person who is, and it is not just about living within your means, it is just about how intelligent you are in your financial planning, right? If we take pride in our intelligence, how can we not be intelligent about our financial planning? So there are certain things you buy because you want to feed yourself emotionally. Yeah. But there are other things you buy because they are functional. Yeah. So don't feel that if you will buy a small car, don't buy a bigger car just because you want to feel so fancy. Car is a functional thing. Okay. Yeah. But experiences are what feed you emotionally. So make your choices accordingly. And hence, from that point of view, I say, live. I'm not somebody that, oh, please save, save, save. Please live. Because what are you doing if you are not living in the moment?
Yeah.
But I think living comes from experiences. Living doesn't come from owning.
Yes.
Owning is only for functional part of life. And your living and, being, even if I say being so very fancy, should come from your emotional feeling. You know, yes, I own a good car. It is not the smallest of cars, but it is not the fanciest of cars either. Okay. Or the experiences that I have gathered, because I said, okay, if I have to spend, I don't want to buy an it bag, and I don't want to own the fanciest car, and I don't want to only buy designer clothes. Okay. But I want to travel well, and I want to travel the world. And those experiences have made me as enviable as somebody who may be owning the fanciest of house and fanciest of cars.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that is the choice we have to make. But as per my personal experience and my professional experience, one thing I can say with utmost surety is that in the moment you won't be able to see, but your darkest moments are taking you towards your brightest moments in life. So if you, and we all feel, even when I'm saying this to you today and I know it in my heart, I know that tomorrow when times will change again, and they will change, because that's the only constant in life.
Sure.
I will again feel very dark. But just remembering this one thing will help you move that 1 inch further that you may be finding very difficult in that moment to do.
Right. Yeah.
That will happen for sure.
But tell me something about what happens in your process when you have to create a content, you have to tell a story, which is your passion, which is the fish that you live for. And you've done a great job. Having won awards is one example of that. But we also know that the advertising industry per se works on a very number basis, works on a very achievement basis, and it's got nothing to do with whether the product is useful for the environment, whether the service is good for mankind or not. So I see like a little bit of a conflict here between who you are and what this job could entail to do. Have you seen that conflict, felt it, experienced it, and dealt with it, or not really?
So there are two things I will bring in here. One, I feel every product and everything is somewhere coming from the point of view, it is the truth. Okay. It could be a harsh truth of our world, but it is a truth. So I don't see a conflict there. And another thing is, too much of anything is bad. Okay. So for example, let's take this, that I'm a very environmentally conscious person. And tomorrow I have to work on a brand which I know is ruining the environment. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is this the time and place for me to bring that thing into picture? Or I can do something else that will take care of that part, and here I deliver on my job. Okay. So for example, if you take FMCGs, see, FMCGs are ruining the environment, but FMCGs are also creating products that we use day in, day out. FMCGs are also creating jobs and prosperity in such a huge manner in the world, right? And as we have always taught, I'm forgetting the Sanskrit saying for it, but there are sayings in every language and every culture which says too much of anything is bad. And I feel that empathy and activism and everything has its space. Yes, there are certain things where one would draw a line and say, doesn't matter, I draw a line here. Okay. For example, there are certain news channels. I will not work with them. Even if I'm jobless, even if I'm like, what will happen to me? How will I pay my rent tomorrow? I will not work with them. Okay.
Mm.
But, and there are certain channels which I would love to work for if I get a chance. And there are certain channels where I'm on the fence. I know that I can go and I can do certain work which will not be as pathetic. Can I take this on? Okay. So everything in life is about balance. So if I'm delivering on a product which is bad for environment, but it's the harsh truth that that product exists and that product is bringing some good to somebody in some way,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And I will bring in, there is this, we have to think about fashion and be conscious, and we have to ask at every step because, end of the day, that industry is killing the environment. And when I'm buying a cheap t-shirt, I'm actually buying something which could be, related to child labor. So we have to ask those things. But can I ask the same questions? Can I ask a person who is struggling to make ends meet? Can I ask that person to not wear polyester because it harms the environment and not buy a cheap t-shirt because it could be a child labor somewhere because that person itself deals with those problems and they don't have means to say, oh, I will only buy sustainable clothing. And that is the balance we have to bring in our thinking. And I think you have asked a very good question because I am for the causes and I'm not somebody who says ki itna karo or itna mat karo. But there is a time and place for everything. Don't ruin your chances to actually see your activism bearing some fruit by doing activism where it doesn't have a time and place. That is what. So if I have to create a campaign, I don't want to bring in my thing of that, oh, this company harms the environment so much. I'm delivering on the campaign. But if I'm somebody who can afford to not use that product or who understands that they are harming the environment, and if I cut my usage by half or if I use it better, I will be helping towards making environment better. I would rather do that than saying, oh, I don't want to create a story for them because, they are harming the environment. For example, I think middle class values are great. We joke about how हम अपने शैम्पू की बॉटल में पानी डालते हैं और हम टूथपेस्ट, but that is so environment friendly because I'm using it to the ends and I'm reducing usage, right? Reduce is as important as reuse when it comes to environment. So we can laugh as much, but middle class values are amazing for environment.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that is how I balance. There is a time, place for everything. Too much of anything doesn't serve fruitful purpose ever.
How do you become this number person that you are? We spoke about how data interests you. And so it is not just creating a really nice feeling story which people are oozing about. It's not just that what satisfies you. What works for you is all the kind of numbers around it, how well it's doing, how people are watching it, and what part of it people are watching, what duration is it being watched. I'm sure all of that is something that you get into, which is not what every creative person gets into. There is a distinction here. So what are your fishes there? What is the passion all about with data? Where did you pick that up from?
Okay, so I feel everything is data. We think of data as this dirty thing, which is numbers, but everything is data. Stories are data. Okay. And I think being creative is about observing and learning more than what excites me and what I can write or what I can paint. Okay. It's observing. Monet was a great painter because he could observe in nature what others couldn't. Okay. He was not a great painter because he could paint well. He was a great painter because of what he could see in nature. Okay.
Yeah.
Gulzar is a great poet because how he can see different things coming together. And that is how you write well. You are not a great poet because you can write well. You write well because you are a great poet who see things different from others. But what you actually do, you see things, you observe things. And that's when you are able to bring things together which others will not think of bringing together. That is what Gulzar does, right?
Yeah.
He will talk of an emotion with something which you will never relate the two things. Okay? Or so it is about observance. So when I'm telling stories, and I used to tell this to my bosses, that don't restrict my team to sit in office whole day. And when they want to go for a holiday, or somebody wants to go trekking, or somebody wants to go for a spiritual journey, I will give those vacations to them. Because, these are the things when you learn, when you observe and you learn, and they are in your subconscious, and that's when you are able to create. Okay. So I think creative process is more about observing and learning around you. And everything is a data. Like we talked about nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
Nostalgia is something we feel, but nostalgia is a data for me. Because when I'm writing something, then that data comes back to me. And then it becomes part of your process unknowingly. That oh, let me write something that about, remember the time. Oh, let me write something that, like my solo travel, because I'm passionate about it, I think about it, I travel, and I observe when I travel, is when someday I will be able to write something about going from one place to the other, what someone else may not be able to, because they may have traveled, but they may not have observed. Okay. So for me, every single thing is data, and that's why I find data so interesting.
So you're saying that the data is not just what we are talking about these days. Data has always been there.
Data is always, in fact, the numbers, if you actually, whatever the number is, if, for example, if I say, okay, what does data say about my TG segmentation? And it says 40% men, 60% women. It's a very technical data, but it's an emotional data as well. Because now we are talking to women. Okay. So data is emotional. Data is not just technical and numerical. Data is emotional. And similarly, vice versa. Emotions are data. So people, we can say, oh my God, everybody's about hashtag wanderlust these days. But that is an emotion, and that emotion is data, that people are either traveling or they want to be seen traveling. And people are, and we all know that people show their social media lives far more beautiful than their actual lives. That is a data, and that is an emotional data, that people are continuously looking to be able to be in a perceived beautiful state than what they are in. Can I write or create something that transforms them into that perceived beautiful space? So everything is data, is emotions, and emotions are data. That is how it is.
From a producer director point of view, what do you think is missing in bringing the art community, the creative community, to a more stable, structured form in India? What's missing? What's going on here? Why aren't people more like you?
First, I think I disagree, because I think creative community has managed to come together very well. And creative people they are strong personalities. Okay. And I don't say it in a bad way. I think it's great to be strong personality. Okay?
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that there is a divide or they are unable to come together. I will say there are communities, and they're so diverse that it's not necessary that one community associates with the other. So whether you see Bollywood or whether you see artists in general and all, and the beauty of this world, whether it's creatives or whether world in general, is that we are diverse and we are united. And not everybody needs to come together as long as you come together within your common interest. That is good enough. And that's how there is a space for everybody. And second thing, I will go back to too much of anything is that. So if you are a creative person who only understand creative person, or say anybody in any profession, if you're somebody who only understands the technical, factual, money part of it and rest you are like, I'm not bothered, then you will be a pain to work with and you will not be able to do your job as well. And if you are somebody who is only about, oh, it's all about emotions and EQ and this and that and what I'm creating, and I don't care if I get this business or not, I either want my idea like this or no, then you are also creating an imbalance and you are also not welcome in this space, because everybody has to come together. So I will again say, it's just very simple. Too much of anything is bad. Like when I was running radio stations, there will be times when a client would want to do something. Okay. And when you have money, when you are giving me money, you have a certain power, right? So you say, I want to do it like this only.
Yeah.
So you tell them the best way to do it for two reasons, because you want to do it in the best possible way. Plus, also sometimes clients don't realize that when you are having your own way, you are actually harming your product messaging. When I'm telling you that this is not what will cut through the clutter, or this is not what listeners will like, that means, ऐसा नहीं है कि if I go ahead and I ask a question that you are asking, people will be like, oh, finally I've heard it, and they'll be like, what rubbish are they asking? I'm not interested in listening to it. So you are harming yourself. But suppose a client insists, then you have to give them that leeway, saying, end of the day, they are running this business. Maybe there is something in it which I don't know and they know in this messaging, right? Let me go ahead with it. And then how I used to make a decision is, will this harm my channel or my listeners or somebody? If it is not harming, it may be just not so great, but it is not going to harm in any way, I will say, okay, do it. Because there will be two outcomes of it. Either I will learn a lesson or the client will learn a lesson. Simple. So that is how you are creative. You have ideas, but you have to make logical decisions about your ideas. And those logical decisions could be production related, that how much money we have, and those logical decisions could be value based, that whether I want to tell this story or not. But why would you tell a story about Johar, which is such a bad thing, and you would glorify it as bravery? That was my contention with that movie. I'm not about censoring. In fact, I say even the worst things should be said, so that then there can be an advocacy about how wrong this mindset is. Okay? We should not stop people from saying things or telling stories. But like for me, why would Sanjay Leela Bhansali choose to tell a story which is about Johar, which was a wrong thing? We can, in no context, tell people, women or men or anyone, to jump in fire. That is wrong. But why would you tell the story from a lens that what a glorific and brave thing they did? I would tell the story of Johar, but when I would tell the story, I would tell it from the point of view where I leave the theater thinking how dark human history is, that humans were forced to do something like this. The women and children burnt alive, rather than leaving thinking, oh my God, how glorious, And that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. Tell a story, tell it from the right lens. Like, I have to Google the name of this movie. so that I can talk about
Yeah,
it.
I'm also really bad with the names.
Kabir Singh.
Right. Yeah.
You know, yes, you're telling a story, fine. These things happen, fine.
Shahid film.
Yeah, people have.
Hmm.
You can even tell a story where there is a very possessive boyfriend, okay? But here you are telling a story where everything that is wrong with the relationship is being glorified as immense love. That was my problem. And why would you choose to tell a story like that? And why would you choose to do a story like that? So that's how I feel. Because two people who are not abusive and hit each other, yes, there are pillow fights, right? That are romantic and sexy. But can I glorify a boyfriend being possessive, pulling her girlfriend away and saying you will stay in this room as immense love? No. Because we know that the same situations are used in very abusive relationships.
Yes.
And they use it exactly in the context of, I love you so much, that's why I'm doing. And that's the problem. So pillow fight is fine, but suffocating someone with pillow is not fine, right? And that's the fine line you go with.
As creators,
Yeah.
to be responsible.
So, I'm not just, so I know when Kabir Singh people were talking, then it became a contention between what always happens, that then people are like, oh, these feminist types, right? And the whole debate gets lost. It's a very poor thing. Anything feminist gets dissolved, gets lost in these feminist types.
Yeah.
Because you're talking of very factual things like abuse in relationship, emotional and physical abuse. That got lost in these feminist types. But the debate should be, why am I telling a story like this from the lens that, oh, it's immense love rather than otherwise?
Yes. Yeah.
Why am I not putting at least a disclaimer saying these very situations are observed in abusive relationships? And we would like to tell audiences right in the beginning that if you are experiencing all this, you may actually be in an abusive relationship. Don't mistake it with love. This is just a creative license. If we can put that don't smoke because we are smoking in the movie, why can't we give this warning to people?
Absolutely.
So
Very, very valid point. So for somebody like you, Anvita, what are your fears?
my fears. Wow. I should focus a bit on my fears as well. My fears are things that are not under my control. For example, there are certain things I can do on my. I will give it to you a very funny example of it. Okay. For example, say weight. So if I eat, I know if I have eaten more or for whatever reason I've been lethargic, inactive, this, that, I have put on 5 kgs. I know that I can do things towards it and I can work towards controlling it, bringing it back by 5 kg. Okay. But once I went for a haircut and I told my stylist that I'm not looking at short hair. And because she wanted to give me a makeover and surprise me, without telling me my waist length hair, she cut from the nape of the neck. And I was like, what have you done? But now my problem is that this hair will again take 5 years to grow to that length. I cannot do anything about it. Okay. So any such thing in life about which I cannot do anything is my fear. But I have learned that when life throws such things at you is when you actually grow as a person, because when you have no choice, then you are forced to make a choice which you would not make ideally. So I think that is the struggle they talk about, that you will grow through difficult times.
And so when you are confronted by a moment that you have no control on,
Yeah.
How do you behave?
I think my response, obviously, the response is helplessness and grief. But my a- actual response to that situation, no matter what the situation is, personal, professional, that is, what is the best I can do?
You have that
And that,
control in that moment.
yeah, like the best for me could be as much as choosing my peace of mind and separating myself from the whole thing, or the best could be making a compromise, or the best could be just put your head down and go with it because you cannot do anything else. But I basically, so if you ask, I don't have any actual control on the situation, right? So if I'm putting my head down, I'm not actually controlling the situation, but that is the only choice I have. So then I am making that choice consciously. At least that much is in my control, that I chose to put my head down and go with it because I couldn't have done anything else.
So when if you are you're out of control in a time when you're actually amongst the things that you're passionate about as much, you know, let's say, like, I mean, there are obviously overlapping times, or you're at the peak of a creative process, which is one of the things that really, really drives you to happiness. And in that, there is something that is completely out of control and that you have an innate fear about. You, like you said, that you will work your way around. And so when we talk about flirting in to get to enjoy, to be in that moment of your creative process, do you have an experience that fun of flirting, the joy of flirting, to get to your passion, does it disappear for you, or you are very much flirting, having fun with life even in that moment, and this phase of the fear of being out of control is very momentary for you? Which one takes over?
Actually, it's very momentary. And I'll give you a very recent example. Yesterday, I had a presentation with a client where one team was working on a campaign. And I'm giving you a very practical example, which a lot of people will face at creative professions, right? A team was working on a campaign, they were unable to crack it. Then it was briefed to me, and I cracked the campaign. And then that team saw and they felt very upset that, oh, why she worked and we didn't. All these things happen at work, okay?
Yeah.
And then they took my idea a step further and they created something, okay, which was exactly my idea, but their version of it. And they called it their idea. So it was, ideally, if you ask me, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But then I thought, do I really need a validation from anyone? Because I know that is the whole fun of being a creative person, that you can take away the idea from me, you cannot take away the process of creating it from me. Okay. So yes, my bosses and client, everyone recognized that it was my idea taken a step further. But there are also half the people who don't recognize it. And I am happy to take the half that recognizes it. And I am happy to realize that I was able to crack something that finally worked. Okay. The other half, which I cannot control because for various reasons, because there is a coterie at work or because of whatever reason, there is the other half who is stealing my credit and who are going with it. I'm like, then it comes ki kar lene do na. What difference it is making to my life? Kya ho jayega isse? Let it be. Then I'm like, chodo na, order macaroons, enjoy it with coffee and get over it. Let it be. You cannot make everyone happy and not everyone can make you happy. So let people, जो आपको खुश कर रहे हैं आप उस पर फोकस करो, जो आपको दुखी कर रहे हैं उनको जानने दो यार. I wish you well and go. You go in this moment, you go from my life, you go forever, whatever works for you. So see, I will have to work with that team again. But in that moment, I was like, अब तुम इस moment से जाओ. फिर जब वापस काम करना होगा फिर से डील कर लेंगे, like that.
Cut the cord at the right time.
Yeah, मतलब अभी हो गया, जाने दो.
And that's like a good plug in, plug out process. Like when you need to plug out, you need to plug out.
That's what I'm saying. I have no control over it. If there is a person, chalo, there is a person who is continuously trying to show that this is my idea.
Yeah.
Then it is not his idea. Okay.
Yeah.
And I may on that certain moment tell him that it is not your idea. But once you are not around, he will tell everyone and there will be people who will believe him. Can I control that? I cannot. So it is out of my control. I do feel shitty about it, that what nonsense. Then you are like, ये अकेला आइडिया तो मैंने किया नहीं है लाइफ में और ना ही ऐसा नहीं कि इसके बाद कुछ करूंगी नहीं. प्लस आई नो इट इज माय आइडिया. ओके, प्लस पीपल हु मैटर नो इट इज माय आइडिया. चलो इवन इफ दे डोंट नो, मेरा कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है इसके ऊपर अब. तो अब छोड़ दो. Put your head down and let it be.
Have there been things that people have told you, which kind of make you wonder about your own passion? Have they come up? Have you seen or heard things that have stayed with you? You don't have to dig them out if they're not really done.
No, I can. So say biggest thing that people have always all my life, and I want all those girls, women out there listening to me, and it's not just me. I have many examples around me. Especially if you are a girl, everyone will always tell you that if you're doing what you want, you will suffer. They will always tell you. And in a very practical way, if I tell you, oh my God, the amount women will get told that if you don't get married, you will be so unhappy and so, you're ruining your life is not funny. But that is where your own confidence and your belief in yourself comes in. Also, in any difficult situation, when you are given with two choices, the choice you wish you could make is what you actually want.
Yeah.
So go with it. So that is what I have always done. And yes, sometimes we are forced to make a choice that we don't want to make. Okay, take your call, but what you actually wanted was that. So as and when you can do that, do it again. Have belief in yourself. And I think I'm saying that spending time with yourself, reading, because the more you read, the more you know about other lives, other people who have done things which maybe you are thinking and people around you are telling that no, you should not. That's why, things like Humans of New York and stories and TED Talks matter so much, because what we actually relate is that, there is someone out there who also thought like this and was able to do it, so I will also be able to do it. But I'm telling you, शादी नहीं कर रही हो, समझ में आएगा, सिर्फ इससे लाइफ नहीं चलती है, सिर्फ उससे लाइफ नहीं चलती है. Please understand that what is bringing you happiness may genuinely not be a happiness for someone else. I know people who hate living alone, which is perfectly fine. But I'm not going to go and tell them कि you cannot live alone, that will always be making you miserable, because no, that's not my part, and they know what is making them happy, right? Similarly, whoever is telling you first, you identify your happiness. Then if others are telling you that it is not going to make you happy, then just tell them that, whatever. I have heard your opinion and I will use it if I want to.
So the things that you've heard and that have stayed with you are opinions about things like this, that if you're not marrying, you would
be single, or, in sometimes people also come from the space of envy. Like they would want to do all this, but they are not. So they'll be like, So
that's point on. Absolutely. It is the word around us that will always tell us.
And I mean, I don't criticize people on campus, because as we are saying, we are all trying to do our best. Somebody who wants to travel but is not able to travel for various reasons, whether it's money, whether it's family, whether they don't have the confidence, whether they have kids to take care of, whatever. It's okay. I mean, jealousy is also human emotion. Allow them that.
Okay, actually, I don't think so. Any of us can stay away from that one. Some or the other time in life. It's very much part of the human nature.
Yeah.
So what is the next level of adventures that you're on to? What is it that we can look forward to coming from Anvita now?
I have no clue, and some of them I don't have a clear this thing, not too much of that kind of planning. And also sometimes you have something in your heart, you're a little scared to say it because what if you are unable to do it, right? But I just want to now work towards something so that one, I create a product or service or a company that matches my values. Okay. And I think it's high time I do something like that, because I have been told by a lot of people, my well-wishers, and otherwise also after working so much, I do think that I have it in me to run a company and to launch something of my. But whatever I do work-wise, my aim is basically to create a life in which I could be working from anywhere in the world, ideally from mountains.
Yeah.
And living a life like that. So that is my objective now. Let's see how I will be able. Good thing is that now with pandemic, one good thing that has come out, that working from anywhere is a accepted part of the deal. So let's see.
In a fast forward manner, we have tried it, tested it, and we've got a confidence to be able to do that.
Yes. So that is what I want to work towards now.
Wow. And the least that I can say is whatever you create is going to be absolutely centric on impact. While of course that is the said unsaid understanding and expectation from any process that we do, but it can also get missed. But having interacted with you on the last few times and hearing you so deeply, I know for sure that whatever you create, whether it's a product or a service or a team, a mission, anything that is definitely going to have a deeper impact on the people who work with you and the people who would probably be your users and consumers. And with all the experience that you've accumulated over a period of time, I just hope that more and more people can access you and be able to connect with you and take part of your experience and take it up and blossom into something else that they can impact into their life. And with that, I hope our conversation today can reach to a lot more people. And I did not find many things that I could read about you or hear about you. So this, I am guessing that has been a very special part of your sharing process. It means a lot to me, Anvita.
It is. So I will tell you this. I don't know why. And even right now, when you were saying all these things, I was like, I hope there are all those things, because I don't know if I'm that amazing or great that people can learn these things from me. I don't think so. I am a very regular person, so I doubt that. But I hope it adds some value. It gives some pointers to people, like, like all of us can take from each other. And I have been a little shy that way. There have been times in the past when people have asked me for that, why we interview and all, and I have literally passed on those opportunities to say, why will you interview me? I'm giving you this person's number, interview that person, because it is not that I don't feel worthy. I feel I have not done much where I can actually tell people about something. So, but recently one particular friend of mine was continuously telling me that, Anvita, you feel so, but you have things to share which really make a difference. Like, when he is going through something, through his anxiety and other things, and he says, when I talk to you, I feel so, I feel better. And these things, what you say really matter. So why don't you say it? Why don't you do this? And I'm like, are you mad? I'm not like somebody who can be, I'm not that great or whatever. And so he was like, so you promise me that if now somebody asks you for an interview kind of thing or anything where they want to collaborate, you will not say no. And as happened with my previous story that I've shared, I said, Acha, okay, I will not do that. And what happens next? I get connected by, like, your team connects with me saying, will you please participate in a podcast? So between you and me, I actually told my friend, I called and I said, listen, you had told me, and that's why I have said yes to this. I am talking. So yes, it is like one of the very rare occasions when I have shared my whatever journey or opinion, and I really hope it is in some way useful. And I don't think useful, but I hope people can relate to it, like how I can relate when other people talk, thinking, yes, this is what. So I hope I can achieve at least that much with it.
And you have done that already.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
It is already so, which is why we are talking, and I'm very excited to do my bit to take it to everywhere we can. I think you and I have grown up on connecting with people like this itself, the icon with the icons, and there are only a few icons, and then there are common people, the middle class people with extraordinary dreams and extraordinary feats, and all of us have grown learning some bit of it from more such people than the few icons, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And you're one of them.
Okay, if you insist, I'll take it.
Yes. And your flirtations with all your fishes is something that I got hooked on to. The team of Matchment Talent got hooked on to, and which is why we really want that it reaches out to more people like us. And फिर जो होगा वो होगा.
Yeah, let's hope. Always hope for the best.
Yes. Great. So thank you so much. Thank you for considering to put in so much time that we've taken.
Thank you for considering me and having me on it. I still don't know why you chose me and what you saw in me, but I will go with your judgment and say, okay, there is something which maybe I don't know, she knows will be useful for people.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm not sure if I'll be able to articulate it to the best because it's more of a feeling, but it's not a choice that we make manually. It's meant to be.
Yes, that I totally believe.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look back, dots connect. Things happen because they are meant to be.
Yeah. I don't like you were saying, I don't treat myself or my team to be so profound that we can understand everything. But what we really truly follow in Match My Talent and all the work that I do is the intuition. And it's the fact that whatever is meant to be is meant to be. So of all the people that I could have spoken to, the fact that you and I are speaking means it is meant to be. And
yes. I believe in very Bhagavad Gita and Christopher Nolan philosophy there, that things are meant to be, dots connect, and they just happen because they were always meant to be. So
always, yeah. So with that note, thank you so much once again. We will make sure that the words reach out, and we will keep connecting in times to come.